Your Honor, no rent has been paid for 6 months, not 1 cent. There was a judgment from August 21st of 24 for 907.28. That was paid on September 3rd, but no rent, not $1 has been paid for 6 months. I have communicated with the tenants every week or two. I have all the texts, and I brought them for a whole year. Not once have they asked for any repairs. They stopped corresponding back with me in like September or October. But so I have every text, every communication we've had.
So in September, you're saying you were communicating with them and they stopped responding?
That's when they stopped responding. I've been communicating with them every week or two for the past 6 months. What I have printed off is a text that I had between the two of us for the past year. Nothing about any maintenance. When I spoke with the attorney yesterday, he called me and says, oh, you know that the tenants don't have any heat, they're using space heaters. No, I do not know that. That has not been said to me. The house could burn down if they're using space heaters. So that's simply untrue.
They don't have heat, why?
I don't know. That's what the attorney said. Yeah.
Okay, so you were first informed, you're saying yesterday, of the lack of heat in the units.
The day before court, 6 months ago. The last time that the tenants communicated with maintenance was 2 years ago. It was February of 23. So we've had nothing from them. The house is a licensed rental property. I have the ledger here. I have a copy of the text if the court wants to see them. I have a prepared judgment.
How much is their monthly rent?
The monthly rent is $1,300 per month. So the total rent with late fees for the 6 months is $7,900. The court fees $167.28 for a total of $8,067.28. I have the money judgment prorated to today's date as well.
Any other testimony or information at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mr. Tyler.
Would you like her to take this one?
I don't need anyone that you
yes,
want to call. You got to call who you want.
I would love to call Ms. Christensen.
Thank you. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury? Yes. You can have a seat there. I need you to speak up loud and clear because the lady behind you has to be able to take down everything that's being stated on the record, and then I have to be able to hear you over this. Okay. Thank you. You can proceed, counsel.
Ms. Christensen. Would you please state your name for the record?
Kimberly Fish.
How do you know the plaintiff?
He's my landlord.
He's your landlord. Okay. When did you move to the property over there at Lakewood in Lansing?
I believe it was 2018.
Okay. And who has lived at that address with you?
Myself, my fiance, my daughter, and my son lived there when we first moved in. Okay, now have their own place.
Okay. So currently it's just you and your partner?
Yes.
Okay. And did you sign a lease?
Yes, I did.
Was it a lease for a year? Or was it a lease for month to month?
It was a 12-month lease.
Okay. And what's the arrangement now? Are you guys month to month or still lease?
I haven't signed another lease.
Okay, so it's month to month. What was the agreed upon rental amount? What did you guys agree to?
It was $895 a month.
Okay. And what is the most recent rent you guys have paid?
$1,200.
$1,200 a month. I believe the complaint says $1,200 a month as well. Does it not?
Yeah.
When was the last time you guys did pay them?
We were in court the last time we went to court, which was in August, I believe. And we had a judgment.
And you guys paid. And from my recollection, it looks like you guys made that payment indeed on September 4th.
Yes.
Which you brought current with that payment. Okay. Did you ever have any discussions with landlord's agent, his son, about the fixes that need to be made over the 9 years, 8, 9 years you guys have lived with the property?
Yes, I have.
Okay. It could have been maybe potentially longer than of a 1 year birth. Was there a reason you may have stopped making those connections or reaching out?
Well, when I addressed it to Todd over the phone, he told me I had to contact his son, Brad,
Okay.
in which I did.
And then that, what happened after you contacted Brad?
He was going to come out, and that was 2 years ago when my grandson was born. And I told him he could still come or he could wait. He said, I can come tomorrow, I'll be free. And he never showed up
What was he coming for?
to fix the furnace.
Okay.
So just to reiterate, you did put Mr. Dowrick on notice about the furnace 2 years ago. He told you his son would contact you. Son contacted you. There was a mishap in maybe trying to get together
Yeah,
to get the fix made, and then it never was in follow up, correct?
yeah,
Okay. So are you guys currently still without you?
yes,
Okay. Have there been any other maintenance issues with the property?
yes.
Could you name some of them for me?
We had the city inspection within the first 3 years we lived there. And the lady had come up with a list of things that needed to be fixed, including the gas hookup for the dryer for downstairs. The faucets were corroded under the sinks. There was just, just a list of things they needed to come and fix. And they never came out and fixed them. She came again 3 years later because we've been there for a while. And she wrote it off as fine.
Okay.
You said she wrote it off as fine, you said?
Like there was not an issue, but they never came and fixed the issues from the first.
Did you guys ever have to deal with any mold, any cleanliness, anything that you guys told them? Could you explain that to me? Also,
Yeah.
could you say yes, because
Yes,
the reporter can't hear you?
I currently have mold in my basement
Mhm.
and under the sink in my bathroom. I can't keep anything down there.
When you say you can't keep anything down there, could you tell me why?
It just
how
gets moldy.
It gets moldy?
I
The mold.
just usually just spray like mold
Okay.
stuff down there and keep
Okay.
it shut.
Did you ever let your landlord know about that issue?
The city inspector had said something about that, and the fan in my bathroom wasn't.
You heard Mr. Dowrick, he claims that you guys haven't made any payments and that you just went radio silence on him. Is there a reason? Could you help me, I guess, better understand why you may have stopped communication with that person?
Well, after the last judgment, it wasn't, but maybe a couple days later where he started messaging about October. And we've had our electricity shut off a few times because our bill is through the roof, running space heaters, trying to keep the house warm. In the areas that we obviously can't keep the whole house out with space heaters.
Okay.
So it's just been paying it. We have money for rent, but then you have to go pay water and light, a deposit and all that to get it turned back on because it got shut off. It just makes the bills a lot higher than what they should be.
Is this the first time the furnace has gone out, or how long has it been out? Just again,
The minimum 3 years.
a minimum 3 years.
It was not working properly before that, and his son did come out
Mhm.
and said we needed to change the filter.
Okay.
And we changed the filter quite a few times. We even bought extra filters, and it would kick on. He says it works. He leaves, it kicks on.
So for 3 years, you guys have had to go without.
No heat at all. Yeah.
Okay, minus the space heaters and skyrocketed electric bills due to
Yes.
such, okay. No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, Ms. Klish. You say the rent is currently $1,200. Could I show you this letter where the rent was increased to $1,300?
Well, you have to ask her a question.
Okay,
Maybe ask her, does she remember the rent being increased to $1,300?
do you remember a letter I sent to you on September 25th of 24, stating that effective November 1st of 24, your rent is increased to $1,300 per month? Are you familiar with this letter?
Well, without showing her, see if she remembers. If she don't, then without showing her.
I don't.
No.
Without showing her.
And
Okay.
if she doesn't remember, then I'll allow you to refresh her
Okay.
recollection.
Thank you.
I don't remember the letter.
I'd like to show it to you. That's okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
No,
Okay.
So you're saying you didn't see this letter? I have my copy of it.
I can't say that I received the letter.
All right. I mentioned text. I have a copy of the last year between you and me. There is no request for any maintenance
Is there a question?
whatsoever. Why, if you had an issue with the furnace or something else, why would a whole year of text go by without you asking for a repair to be done?
Because you told me I had to contact Brad for that, your son.
You mean, so you're going without heat. I want to understand this. You're going without heat for 3 years. This is a licensed rental property with a valid certificate with the city of Lansing, and you're not demanding that the heat be fixed?
I have demanded that the heat be fixed, but you told me that I have to contact Brad as the maintenance, that you don't deal with that kind of stuff. And like I said, the city of Lansing inspection, it can't even be, I don't even feel it's credible because it was the same lady that came 3 years before that year. And she wrote up a list of things that needed to be fixed, and you or your son never came. And then 3 years later came and passed everything. So if the same lady said that these things were damaged, and then 3 years later, nothing was fixed, and she said they're fine, I don't find that credible at all.
I have in front of me the certificate of compliance for rental dwelling. And the property, it shows that the property was inspected on July 14th of 22. It gets inspected again next month. Do you recall this inspection?
I do. I was there both times she came, both years.
Do you recall the list of things that we were asked to do by the inspector?
I followed her for a little bit. She said the gas hookup downstairs was faulty for the washer and dryer connection. And she said that the fan in the bathroom needed to be fixed because it wasn't working properly. There was some smoke detector issues that was fixed that day. And there was corroding on the faucets and underneath the sinks. Those are just the ones I remember.
So the list, I have the list here. It's signed that everything was completed. So you're saying that these items were not done?
I'm absolutely saying neither you or your son came and fixed anything after the first inspection.
So we lied when we signed the form and said everything was done.
Obviously, if that's what you're saying, then that's what you did, but I know 100% that neither you or your son came and repaired anything. And that was what was confusing, because the same exact lady came 3 years later and passed it 3 years later, and nothing had been fixed. That's when I started to wonder what's going on. You guys have a personal relationship, or because how can it be faulty and nothing's fixed, and then 3 years later it's fine?
Did you call the city of Lansing and say, hey, I got problems with this house? They would come out and inspect it. Yeah.
I did not.
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm hard pressed to find why it's her responsibility.
But it's not an objection.
Sorry,
Well, it's gotta be an evidentiary objection. Is it relevant?
Just,
It goes to our credibility, if that was your objection.
I have the text messages between you and Brad Dowrick. Brad Dowrick heads up the maintenance. All maintenance requests have to be in writing. The last time you communicated with Brad Dowrick was 2 years ago, February of 23. If you're having maintenance issues, why are you waiting 2 years without asking for one thing to be fixed?
He said it was a filter issue. He did come. He said we needed to buy new filters. I, at one point, had a conversation with you about maybe the ducts, because there's a lot of dust in my house, like when you turn on they try to turn on the heat, the fan, the anything. And I've even used my vacuum cleaner to try to get down in the ducts and suck some of that out. And I had that conversation with you years ago. And you said you were not gonna pay somebody to come and clean out the ducts. And I said, maybe that's why the furnace is cutting off. Because it's I don't know. I mean, I'm not a repair. I don't repair furnaces. I really don't know what's wrong with it, but I do know that it does not work.
I have a question. I need some clarity. You're saying you've been without heat for how many years straight?
At least 3.
When's the last time you text? I didn't ask the question yet. When's the last time you contacted Mr. Dowick or his son Brad Dowick for maintenance on your furnace?
The last time I texted him,
Communicated with him.
the last time, I can't say an exact date. It wasn't within the last year because I've had conversations with Todd, like after court or when he's been trying to get money judgments, and I've explained like we don't even have, heat doesn't work, we're paying high bills for electric, but I never knew until just now that a maintenance request had to be written. He just always told me to call his son.
Okay, but you're saying you haven't communicated with either of them within the last year about the furnace?
Correct.
Okay.
I
Why are we here then?
I'm sorry,
Well, then why are we here?
I don't know.
If your client hasn't communicated about an issue, how is he supposed to be? And there was a judgment. When was that for a non-payment of rent or?
It was for non-payment rent on August 21st. That was paid off,
For what, August of last year?
August of 24.
So there was a court case last year and this wasn't an issue then?
No, it was not.
Okay, so there was a judgment and then nothing brought up then about condition of the property. Now we're here, rent still not being paid, and then no record of communicating even since that judgment or in the year of that judgment of an issue with the property. Why are we
I believe that
here?
She didn't communicate with them because her communications thus far have fallen on deaf ears.
That's not what she just said under oath. Under oath, I asked her, when's the last time? She said, not within the last year.
I mean, prior to this last year, Your Honor, I do apologize. My understanding is that from at least 3 years ago, she's been trying to get this furnace fixed. I would too stop asking to get it fixed. If a year
I
goes
wouldn't
by.
live with a house with no heat
I agree.
and expect to be there and pay a high bill. I would move. I would call the city.
Mhm.
I would do a number of things. I can't put myself in her position. I can only ask, I can only follow what the law dictates. And that is, if you're gonna be in a property as a condition, and you wanna use that as a reason why you didn't pay your rent, there's certain things you have to do to show good faith. Number one, you gotta put your rent in escrow. Was there rent escrow?
No, it was not.
And number two, you gotta notify the person that there was an issue. It can't be, well, I told them 3 years ago that there was an issue. She said that he came out there and changed the filter. Well, what do you tell him since then? I need some record of some communication. And if I got record, I haven't reviewed his text messages yet. If I review these text messages and I see where he's communicating with her regularly, asking for his rent, and there's never a response that says, sir, you have not fixed our heat, then it doesn't sound like good faith here.
I believe that at least for August, the rent wouldn't have been, or the heat wouldn't have been an issue because it's August. I don't know when or if they've ever had any other.
He said he's got a year worth of text messages there. Is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. A year worth of text messages.
I have a year worth of text messages, no request for any repairs whatsoever.
You reviewed those text messages?
I have not seen those text messages.
Well, before I gotta see him, he's gotta see him. We'll go off the record so you all can review that, because I'm not 100% sure why we're here right now. It sounds like something that needs to be resolved. Because if I make a ruling, that someone's gonna be upset.
Would you like us
You can take off this, you can step off the stand for now. We're off the record, because I can't review those messages if your attorney has not reviewed them. And then we'll, once you review them, we'll see if he wants to admit them as an actual exhibit, which he's not formally asked, but it looks like that's what he's trying to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, you can step off and then I'll call the next case. I'll call you when you're ready. Thank you.
The guy that was arrested.
Back on the record in the matter of Dowick versus Little John and Clish. Okay, counsel, you had opportunity to review the text messages. I'm assuming he's making a motion to have these admitted as exhibits.
Yes, I am.
Any objection?
No, your only objection, not objection, personal, I guess, point of contention. I don't think text messages are the only way to communicate. My client said hell of a day.
Oh, I asked her under oath. She said she did not communicate with him about it for a year, so that's, I asked, oh, I didn't, I said communicate.
I'm aware.
I said, when was the last time that you communicated with him about the furnace? She said, not within the last year.
She was under the assumption that we were still talking about text.
She was not, because I clarified it on the record.
All right.
I said, she said text message, I said, no, communicate. Okay, did you have any other witnesses? I need to see the text messages, please. Is there any photographic evidence of these conditions on the property, the alleging mold, something to show me that the thermostat didn't change when the heat was turned on?
No,
Any
my
evidence?
got a new phone and all that stuff got not transferred over, so. Do apologize.
But the person, you still live in the house, correct?
Yes,
You have a phone?
I do.
I don't see how that works. They could do that this morning.
I wasn't aware that it was gonna be like a full trial. Usually we go to court and then they set a day for trial or.
We do that already.
It got
You had a pre-trial.
postponed.
No, that's.
Oh.
This is very simple. You have a non-payment of rent. You have a copy of, I think the issue that's not so simple is how much the rent was. I think we understand, at least at one point, it was $1,200. But you're claiming that there was a letter that was sent to them. How was it sent?
It was sent by US mail. I have my copy. It's a carbon, I have my carbon copy of the letter.
You sent when?
It was sent on September 25th of 24, stating that effective November 1st of 24, your rent is increased to $1,300 per month. The ledger reflects $1,300 effective November 1st. Would the court like to see the ledger?
All right. Okay. So I have your text messages, and I'm looking at the pattern and how you started telling her every time. Well, you'd been consistently telling them every time, or her at least, every time the rent was due and what she owed. And I see when it shifted to $1,300 increments. I don't see any response that, hey, that's not how much my rent is due. I don't see any response. Primarily, the reason why I have a concern about the credibility of your witness's testimony is because it's unreasonable for me to believe that for 3 years you live in a home where you're paying $900 to $1,200 a month and you have no heat, and there's not a single text message when I have a year's worth of very active communication and you don't mention, I don't have any heat. At one point, she stated she didn't even have Brad's number. Well, if you're communicating with him about maintenance issues, you would have his number. So she wasn't communicating with Brad because she said in the text message she didn't have his number. Not only that, there was another eviction within the last year and a judgment where this was not an issue. Rent, it looks like from January of 2024, which is what the messages I have, there's constant and continuous text messages being sent to the tenants about the rent that is owed. There's not, responses are always, my mistake, you're right, I'm gonna give you the payment, I'm gonna give the payment to Brad, then I don't have Brad's number. I mean, there's communication about your rent's due, and there's a communication about the condition of her vehicle. She's got a nail in her tire, or her fiance or boyfriend, whoever it is that's living with her, is laid off, or her truck has a flat, or she's not working, and he wants to know if she's still working for Matt and Heather. Her goddaughter is in the hospital. So if my landlord is not providing me heat and he's texting me about my rent, I ain't talking about my 3-year-old goddaughter being in the hospital. I'm talking about where's my heat. Unreasonable. You're not going to tell me, and it's absolutely her responsibility to call the city if she believes that the furnace is not working and the landlord is ignoring her request for heat. She never made a request for heat. That's the problem. She's been living in this house. There's no record, no evidence of any mold being brought before this court today. You knew you was coming to court. The evidence should have came with you. You knew you were alleging that there was no heat. There should have been some evidence. So look, Your Honor, here's a picture of my thermostat. My heat is running and it's not going up. You brought me nothing. You didn't even bring me proof of your electric bill to show me that it went up because of the fact that you've been running space heaters throughout a house to heat it. So you've not met any burden to show me, to make me believe anything to support your claim. To the contrary, the text messages make me believe that it wasn't an issue because you would be talking about that other than all the other things. Then what's really important to note is that after September 23rd, there's a text message in there. She's responded to every single text message about past due rent, and she's never on time. It's never happened. And then September 23rd, he tells her, I'm filing an eviction tomorrow if it's not paid. She said, I can drop something off tomorrow. And then she now brings up another issue about her car. Well, then we go into October. She goes silent. She says nothing. She didn't come to the court and file and escrow her rent and file a notice saying that I need you to force my landlord to give me heat. Nothing to operate or show operation in good faith. So for those reasons, I don't believe you have a lawful claim to withhold the rent. So judgment is in favor of the plaintiff in this matter.
Your Honor, I prepared a judgment if you'd like it.
Yes. It's judgment in the amount of $7,900 for past due rent plus $167.28 for court costs for a total amount due $8,067.28. He'll pay that in full or vacate the property by the 24th of this month. There's also money judgment that will enter in the amount of $7,157.14 plus court costs. Grand total of the money judgment, $7,324. We'll get you a copy of that in just a moment. Any additional matters for the record? Mr. Jarwick, I'm gonna take my notes off and give you your exhibit back. Okay.